into authentic conversations about ourselves and our community, exploring topics that uplift and inspire us. From personal growth to social change. So grab your teacup and get ready to join the conversation. Welcome to Tanisha Talks Tea. Exploring topics that uplift and inspire us. From personal growth to social change. So grab your teacup and get ready to join the conversation. Good afternoon, tea sippers. We are live with Tanisha Talks Teas on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. How's everybody this Monday morning? West Tea. What are we sipping this morning? I am sipping the first day of the Diddy trial. Y'all know I'm sipping the first day of the Diddy trial, so let's just go ahead and get right on into it, y'all, okay? The first day of the Diddy trial starts today. So y'all know Diddy has been incarcerated now for like 6 months. When did Diddy go to jail, y'all? When did he get arrested in that hotel in New York? Wasn't that back in last year? He went to jail last year, I want to say, it wasn't last summer. Was it last summer? Has Diddy almost been in jail a year? Let me see. When did Diddy get arrested? Diddy got arrested on September 16th of 2024, okay? He has been arguing his release since September 16th of last year, 2024. And so yeah, that's what that has been doing, y'all. So we're going to get updated on Diddy's trial. Starts today. Today he will be having his jury selected. We're going to listen to some of the news updates and some personal understandings and opinions on the diddler, y'all. Oh, we are all having a blessed day. Thank you guys so much for sipping tea with Tanisha today. Let's jump right on into Diddy stuff. So, Diddy, what do they got going on Fox News New York?
Well, the trial of Sean Diddy Combs starts 1 week from today. The sexual misconduct charges he faces have attracted widespread media coverage, which could make it difficult to pick an unbiased jury.
Okay, Fox 5's Lisa Evers is in the newsroom. And Lisa, today you had an exclusive conversation with a jury selection consultant about that jury selection process.
Yes, I did, and very, very interesting. She's telling us it will be up to 12 residents of 8 New York counties, including some from upstate, to decide whether Sean Diddy Combs walks away from this case a free man or stays locked down for decades. Now the jury selection process is underway to pick a jury who can decide his fate.
Diddy was once seen as a superstar and fashion icon. Now his only outfit is a prison jumpsuit. 600 men and women are filling out jury surveys to determine if they will be selected or selected to determine his fate. It's based on 20 to 70 questions.
The questions range from your basic impartiality, your basic ability to serve, if they have financial hardship or childcare concerns. But then they also go into a range of what groups, organizations they belong to, their experiences with law enforcement, And then they really get into their thoughts on the nature of the charges.
Judge Arun Subramanian has ruled that the horrific video of Cassie Ventura being beaten by Combs can be admitted in court. Prosecutors will also be able to introduce videos of the alleged freak-off sex and drug sessions.
They really get into their thoughts on the nature of the charges. So if hearing graphic evidence would make it hard for them to be fair, their experiences with sexual harassment, domestic violence, they go into questions about drug and alcohol use.
For most of this week, prosecutors and Diddy's defense team will be poring over the questionnaires and eliminating candidates.
By May 1st, they have to propose 4 lists. So a list that both sides can agree, the jurors can move on to jury selection, so they don't have any hardships or cause challenges. A list that both sides agree should be excused.
Now, the prosecution and defense will each submit a list of jurors that they do not want on the jury. The people who make it will be there in federal court a week from today for the actual jury selection. Now, whether they are questioned because of the high-profile nature of the trial, their names will not be read in court. They will be identified simply by number. That's the latest from the newsroom. I'm Lisa Evers, Fox 5 News. Steve, back to you.
Interesting. All right. Thanks, Lisa.
I'm sure you know by now that there are literally thousands of women earning 6 and 7
so we're
figures
sipping
from
on
home
Diddy.
by creating an automated store and selling products through dropshipping.
That was a little bit of news coverage from Fox 5. Thanks, Fox 5. Let's just keep going in on the Diddy stuff.
Where the federal racketeering and sex trafficking case against Sean Diddy Combs is underway. So here's what's happening right now. Jury selection started earlier this morning. The hip-hop artist faces 5 counts, including racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking. Combs pleaded not guilty, but faces decades in prison. So let's bring in CBS News correspondent Jerika Duncan. Jerika, first of all, good to see you, even though you're having to be under an umbrella there, my friend.
Great to see you, Reed.
We understand that you have an update on what happened in court. Tell me about that.
That's right. It appears that at least 2 of those jurors have been seated. I just left court about 15 minutes ago, and they are still questioning jurors. Remember, they need 12 that they will seat and 6 alternates for this federal case against Sean Diddy Combs. And just to give you a sense of some of the questions that the jurors were asked before they were questioned by the judge and also prosecutors as well as the defense team, if they had any issues with sexual assault, if they had any experience with it, their views from the prosecution on law enforcement. They were asked if they received any training or had any experience with psychiatry, psychology, addiction, law enforcement. They also asked about any questions or reservations they had about artists and the hip hop community, witnesses that will testify under immunity. So this is just a few of the questions that sort of give us a look into what each side is looking for when it comes to that impartiality of a juror. And many times over, the judge mentioned that Sean Diddy Combs is presumed innocent unless he is found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. He mentioned that over and over again to each juror that was questioned. Last check, though, about 9 jurors had been questioned, 2 that we know that were seated, in which the prosecution and the defense agreed they were comfortable with seating those jurors. So a lot to learn throughout the next couple of days, which is how long the judge said this should last. They're hoping to get through about 50 jurors each day. But both sides recognize how difficult this case will be in terms of getting that right jury pool to make sure that folks don't come in here with preconceived ideas because of that video that went viral that we saw of what appears to be Sean Combs kicking and dragging his former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. But this really comes down to a federal case, the U.S. government, United States government against Sean Combs, facing sex trafficking and racketeering charges, which could get him up to life in prison if he's convicted on all charges.
Well, Jerika, if I'm in that courtroom, I have a huge question in my mind, whether I'm with a prosecution or defense, and that is, how can I seat a jury in a case against one of the most famous men on the planet, and especially now infamous, made more infamous by that video you talked about? It's a challenge.
It really is, Reed, and I think that's why even with the questionnaires that these jurors filled out, it was an opportunity for both sides to ask questions to those jurors based on how they filled out that questionnaire. There were some other telling moments in what we are now learning about some of the people and places, for instance, that jurors were asked about if they were familiar with. For instance, one juror said that they were familiar with, I believe it wasn't, stand by because it is wet outside and I want to make sure I get it right. It was number 88, and that was apparently Michael B. Jordan. And then there was number 117, Mike Myers. So these were jurors saying that they were familiar with pictures of these people, but just knowing them as actors or celebrities. Then there were parts where the judge...
I mean, are you really going to find anyone in today's day, no matter... I mean, that could be... You know what I'm saying? Left, right, under, behind, beside people of the world that are not going to know these people, like people that put out, you know, big screen movies like Michael B. Jordan and whoever this Mike Myers person is. Like, you really, really got to be an Amish person or somebody that has no connection to the internet, no connection to anyone that knows anybody in the entertainment industry in any way, shape, form, or fashion to not know who Diddy is or anybody associated with that may know Diddy. So, I mean, you kind of damn if you do that and if you don't in that, I think.
Said, what about number 133? You had a question about that person. And this was juror number 4. They said, I know them as a celebrity, but in that case, the judge didn't mention them by name. And just as I was leaving, another juror was asked about Kanye West in terms of what that juror knew about Kanye West or their feelings or thoughts about him. So we don't know how that will play into this trial, whether this is a situation where maybe one of the witnesses or alleged victims says they saw people at a party, or whether these were just people that were at a Diddy party that we've talked about along with this case. So it's too early to presume exactly what that means, but there are a number of locations and people that these jurors were already shown to find out their connection to or just how familiar they are with some of these people and places.
All right, Jerika Duncan, CBS News. Always great to talk to you, my friend. Let's hope the rain lets up for the Met Gala that's happening in New York as well.
Okay, so Diddy's trial is beginning today. Juries are being selected. It looks like 2 people may have already gotten selected on Diddy's jury trial. What do you guys think? Let's listen in on USA Today, even though sometimes USA Today be having a slant, girl.
The music mogul faces charges of sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution, as well as racketeering. The trial will be full of shocking and salacious allegations. Mr. Combs has pleaded not guilty, but how strong is the case against him? Here's what we know now.
Combs' defense has basically been arguing that he's not guilty and saying that these relationships were consensual, that this is essentially a swingers lifestyle, that people went to these parties by their own accord and engaged in this behavior. That will play a lot into the kinds of questions that the potential jurors get over the next few days. They're expected to bring in as many as 150 people. Potential jurors will each be interviewed one by one in the courtroom. It's expected to take about 20 minutes. Expected to be asked about everything from their views on.
So they're saying this could take a couple of days. So Diddy's jury will not be selected in a matter of moments. It'll probably take a week or 2 to select all 12 jurors, okay?
Sex, violence, drugs, folks who have multiple sexual partners, as well as potentially their own experiences with sexual assault. So this will be a very telling next few days in where the trial will go from here.
Will Combs or high-profile witnesses testify?
So it's unclear yet whether Combs himself will be taking the stand, but as of right now, his former girlfriend, the R&B singer Cassandra Cassie Ventura, is expected to testify. I mean, with so many high-profile people within his orbit over the last few decades, it's tough to say exactly who we might see come to the courthouse over the next couple months.
Okay. Oh, no, we're still listening. Hold on.
Selection is underway in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. The disgraced music mogul is charged with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in.
So let's pause that there. I'm going to take a note because I also want to look at these charges and see what type of time they carry and so forth. Okay, so we got racketeering. I think I've done some of this already, but that's okay. We can do it now. So we got racketeering, we got conspiracy, we got sex trafficking. Oh my goodness gracious. Diddy, they trying to put you up under the jail, boy. And transportation to engage in prostitution, okay? Transportation to engage in prostitution.
He has pleaded not guilty. Christina Fan is live outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan with the latest on the proceedings. Christina.
Good afternoon, Cindy. In-person questioning of prospective jurors began earlier this morning. The judge overseeing this case plans on bringing in at least 50 prospective jurors every day until a jury of 12 people and 6 alternates is formed. Even though dozens of men and women have filed civil lawsuits against Sean Diddy Combs, this criminal trial is focused on the accusations of 4 people, including his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. Jury selection is underway in the federal sex trafficking case of Sean Diddy Combs. The 55-year-old hip-hop mogul faces 5 counts, including racketeering conspiracy and transportation to engage in prostitution. Prosecutors allege he ran a criminal enterprise that coerced women into participating in drug-fueled sexual escapades known as freak-offs involving male prostitutes. Combs' legal troubles began nearly 2 years ago when ex-girlfriend singer Cassie Ventura filed a civil lawsuit against him, alleging years of physical and sexual abuse. The two settled, though dozens more cases have been filed by other alleged victims. Combs denies the allegations. In March 2024, federal agents raided his Los Angeles and Miami homes. Then 2 months later, CNN aired this graphic video from 2016, which appeared to show Combs attacking Ventura in a hotel hallway. He later apologized on social media.
And then it's like, who are we going to find that has not saw this video? Everybody has saw this video.
My behavior on that video is inexcusable.
Legal experts say defense attorneys will try to change public perception.
You want that jury seeing Mr. Combs as relatable, as human, as being a father.
Last week, Combs rejected a plea deal in this case. If convicted, he could possibly spend the rest of his life in prison. And jury selection is expected to move relatively swiftly, with opening statements scheduled to begin next Monday, May 12th. This trial.
Oh my. So they're really only giving Diddy a week. They're giving Diddy a week. They're capping it at Monday. This reporter is reporting that they are capping it at next Monday for the jury to be selected. I thought maybe since they were doing like 20 minutes, 50 people a day, that they might, take maybe 2, but no. This reporter is reporting it can only maybe last up to 1 total week for Diddy's jury to be selected, and then it's starting. Jury trial starts for Diddy.
Is expected to run anywhere between 8 to 10 weeks. Reporting live from Lower Manhattan, Christina Fan, CBS News, New York.
Christina.
Okay, y'all. The jury is being selected for Sean Puffy, y'all. It is being selected for Sean Puffy. What do you guys
The Sean Diddy Combs trial has begun here at U.S. District Court.
Do you guys think that Diddy has any allies? Do you think that there's anybody that may step in to talk for Diddy? And who would that be? Do you think it would be Stevie J? Because we covered Mr. Stevie J in his comments with TMZ on the Diddy documentaries that TMZ did. When he said things like all of the little liars that are going around saying that Diddy did all of these things to him and the sex trafficking situations, things like that. They are doing nothing but muddying up the water for the real victims to come out and shit like that. Like, you know, they're making it harder for real victims that may have been assaulted by Diddy. Like, did he, at that very moment, did he already give his so-called best friend brother to the wolves, essentially saying that statement about Diddy? What's this?
One by one in the highly anticipated trial, but here is what we know as of right now. Now, Combs faces several charges, including sexual assault, sex trafficking, drugging, coercion, and racketeering. Several dozen prospective jurors got a brief description of the charges against Combs this morning, and jury selection could take several days, with opening statements and the start of testimony expected sometime next week. Let's get right to Fox 5's Michelle Ross, who is live from outside of the courthouse in Lower Manhattan with more on today's developments. Michelle.
Hi there, Bianca. Potential jurors, after they received that brief explanation of the charges against Diddy, the judge also reminded them that Diddy has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges and that he is presumed innocent. Diddy walked into the courtroom hugging his attorneys. We also saw him in regular clothing, not his usual prison uniform. He wore a sweater with a white collared shirt underneath and gray slacks. Now, the jury will be anonymous, and this is often the case in high-profile trials to protect potential jurors from harassment. Now, jurors are being questioned one by one, and the court hopes to seat a panel of 12 of them, plus 6 alternates by the end of the week before opening statements begin on Monday. The trial is expected to last around 2 months, and we can expect prosecutors to argue that Diddy used his power to force women to participate in drug-fueled orgies that lasted days, known as freak-offs. Diddy's defense team says everything was consensual, and his attorney, Mark Ignifilo, said during a hearing last month that there's nothing criminal about a swinger's lifestyle. One of the 4 alleged victims expected to testify during this trial include R&B singer and ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. And tonight, just a few miles uptown, is the Met Gala. This, of course, was an event that Diddy attended for years. It's an event full of glamorous fashion and also fundraising, but instead of heading there tonight, Diddy will be going back to his jail cell before coming back here tomorrow. We're live outside federal court in Lower Manhattan. Michelle Ross, Fox 5 News.
All right, Michelle, thank you for the update. And joining us now for more on this is Eric Rudish, managing partner and senior litigation consultant at Blueprint Trial Consulting. Eric, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, so the question right off the bat here is that with Diddy's name all over the headlines, how do you lawyers even begin to seat an impartial jury?
Well, the first step is the juror questionnaire. I'm sure there'll be several questions asking prospective jurors what they know about the trial and, more importantly, what opinions they formed about the case.
Yeah.
So that's going to certainly provide a good deal of information for each side to know if a prospective juror can be fair and impartial in this case.
Absolutely. Now, I know that the prosecution is painting this as a years-long criminal operation. So what does the defense have to do to maybe dismantle that narrative?
Well, I mean, first step is obviously selecting a jury that's going to be, for both sides fair and impartial. So looking at the questionnaire and seeing what opinions people have or experiences related to sexual abuse, sexual lifestyle, views towards law enforcement, whether they've have a negative view of law enforcement, feel that law enforcement unfairly targets individuals, particularly minorities.
Yeah.
So, people are going to look through that evidence through their own lens, and their lifestyles, experiences are going to certainly be a big factor in how jurors view this case.
So for the defense team, what would be the ideal juror that they would want seated on this?
So the ideal juror would be someone who potentially has more favorable attitudes or experiences towards, hip-hop culture, has a maybe non-traditional sexual lifestyle, maybe has had negative experiences with law enforcement. So, someone who, with those experiences and attitudes can certainly be much more receptive to some of the evidence that the prosecutor is going to bring forth against Sean Combs.
You brought up the issue of the evidence. A lot of the evidence is going to be very graphic. So how do you bring that out there to the jurors without alienating some of them?
Right. It's all going to be about the witnesses that come forth for both the prosecution and the defense, and for Sean Combs is a team to put that evidence, particularly the visual evidence, into context.
Yeah.
And it might be the kind of case that Sean Combs may need to testify to provide his story to the jurors.
Do you think he will?
Probably not.
Yeah.
But that might be a decision that might be made, during the trial to see how the trial is going. But typically, defendants, as you know, do not testify.
Yeah, they don't want to get themselves in any more trouble than they are already currently in.
Exactly.
Makes a lot of sense. All right, well, we certainly appreciate you being here and in breaking this down for us. It's going to be a complicated process, obviously, but the world will be watching.
Yes,
especially
for
a case like this.
Thank you.
You'll have to come back on to talk more about it. Thanks for being here.
This is what
All
Ivy
right,
League universities you can get into with a 3.6.
We are covering the first day of Diddy. Diddy's trial. They are selecting Diddy's jury, right? So what other tea is out there on what's going on with Diddy? Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial stakeout. What's going on over there? Oh, this is just them watching the courthouse of whatever. Ooh, I got excuse me, sneeze. But there's lots of tea on Diddy.
The anticipated criminal trial of Sean Diddy Combs is getting underway. The music mogul himself expected to be inside a Manhattan courtroom as jury selection begins. It was nearly 8 months ago that Combs was first arrested by federal agents and charged with racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution that could lead up to life behind bars. Combs has repeatedly denied the accusations against him and just last week said in court that he had rejected a plea deal which would have seen him receive a lighter sentence. But New York prosecutors claim Combs abused women for decades, coercing them to participate in drug-fueled sex parties known as freak-offs. Many of those incidents recorded on video, according to the indictment.
The victims did not believe they could refuse Combs without risking their security or facing more abuse.
His defense maintains everything was consensual, with Combs' attorney Tenny Garagos telling the Two Angry Men podcast,
"The public has gotten nearly every single fact wrong. However, that's what a trial is for."
The legendary rapper and hip-hop producer, now turned defendant, was first accused of physical and sexual abuse by his former girlfriend, singer Cassie Ventura, in an explosive civil lawsuit 18 months ago. Combs denied all of Ventura's accusations at the time, and the two settled. But a criminal investigation was already taking shape. And then this hotel security footage surfaced, first obtained by CNN, showing Combs punching and kicking Ventura in 2016.
And as I said, there's going to be likelihood of anyone not seeing this video slim to none.
My behavior on that video is inexcusable.
That apology has since been deleted from social media. Combs' legal team has tried to keep the assault video from being played to a jury, but the judge recently...
Not for nothing, everybody that covers Diddy in the content creator world has this video and has it uploaded to their content a lot. I know I do. I know everybody that covers Diddy does. So like I said, it's going to be very slim to none chance that someone on the jury has not seen this video of Diddy beating Cassie.
That it can be shown. A source familiar with the case telling NBC News that Ventura is a star witness for the government and is expected to take the stand within the first few days. Now the process begins to select the jurors who will soon decide his fate.
Hey guys, Combs is expected to be in the courtroom as the jury is being chosen. His legal defense team hoping that they can find an impartial jury despite the months of media attention surrounding this high-profile case, especially since his former girlfriend.
Ooh, that's going to be intimidating. Imagine sitting there while Diddy stares you down for you to become a potential juror. That's going to be pretty intimidating for jurors, right?
girlfriend Cassandra Cassie Ventura filed an explosive civil suit against him in November 2023, claiming years of alleged physical and sexual abuse. And now she's expected to be a star witness on behalf of the government in the case against him. Now, I also want to point out that the judge is hoping that they can seat a jury within just 3 days, which is quite fast.
Wow, 3 days. I just spoke on maybe it might take a minute considering the nature of how they have to carefully, selectively select the jurors for Diddy. But the judge said, no, let's get this shit on the roll. Let's get on the roll. Okay. 3 days. Diddy got 3 motherfucking days to pick 12 folk. People of your peers. We're going to go all around New York and handpick 12 motherfuckers. We're going to cherry pick 12 niggas. I really don't give a damn. Let's get this shit moving. 3
federal
days.
Court, and that's typically what happens. They like to seat a jury pretty quickly. And then that would allow both sides, both the prosecutors here in New York and Combs's legal team, a couple of days to prepare before opening statements are on Monday. I want to point out a few other things. There aren't going to be cameras in the courtroom. This is all expected to last about 2 months. And this entire criminal case centers around 4 alleged victims, with Cassie being the main one. The other identities have not yet been revealed. Back to you.
You're selling life insurance and you're not.
Okay, we are sitting here, Diddy. Sorry, guys, I had to get a package from the front door. So I'll open that when I get on our next video. 1 second. What do you guys think? We're going to get into like Cassie testifying. What do you guys think about that? We're going to talk about, what type of juror should be selected for Diddy. Will the liars that came up about Diddy, from all over the internet, I can't remember the girls' names at the moment, but I covered them on some of my content, that came up and lied about Diddy. Do you think that'll muddy the waters? What do you guys think? Drop your teacups and your thoughts in the chat.
Sir Michael Babcock, live from LA. Ooh, I'm in LA when the sun's always shining.
It's not. It's not. It's all right. It's hard to tell. It looks like it's going to be a decent day. How you doing, Mario?
I'm doing all right. It's just the rain has me in a bed. It's been raining for like.
Is it raining? Hold on, I can't hear. I got to make. Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear you. It was raining. I'm sorry. I hope it clears up. Something's happened. I don't know what. It's not raining here. It sounds like it is, though. So forgive me if you hear that noise.
We hear nothing. You look nice.
Okay.
Got your chain out, I see. Where are you coming from?
Sleeping. I can't. We're on a different thing here today, so I can't see you. This is very unfortunate.
You're missing out because the earrings really set this dress off. That's all I'm going to say. And I did a nice little something different with my eye makeup, but it's fine.
We got to figure out the return because we're not on Skype anymore, so I can't see you.
Yeah, we got to fix this. This Diddy trial is getting started today. Do you think this is going to be one of the most watched trials ever?
Yeah. I mean, talked about. Absolutely. I mean, the reality is it's like, 90 or so minutes now, this thing got started in New York, and, task number 1 is picking this jury, which is going to be, I think, a near impossible task. I mean, to your point, Marielle, everybody knows about this case. So how do you find people who don't have an opinion on Diddy's innocence or guilt? I mean, that just seems like a Herculean task. It seems nearly impossible to do, but that's what they're going to have to try and do here. So they will ask a lot of questions. It's probably going to take the better part of a week to find a jury. And I think at the end of the day, it's not about finding people who don't have an opinion on the case necessarily, but can you change your mind? Are you amenable to that? And I think that's going to be the big question.
And it's supposed to last at least 2 months. I mean, can you imagine being on that jury? That is day
that's
in,
another
day
thing.
out.
Yeah, and in this, I mean, I think it's a real concern is that
I have a question, and you guys let me know. I'm looking this up. Do you get paid to say for like a 2-month trial, 2.5 month trial? Do you get paid for being a juror on a lengthy trial? If you guys know, tea sippers, please drop your understanding in the chat for me. Do you get paid? Okay. It says, yes, jurors are compensated for their service, including during lengthy trials. Okay. So, of course, it brings up the state that I am in, and it says jurors receive a daily fee of $50 per day for the first 3 days of service. And employers are also required to pay regular wages up to $50 per day. Okay, so wow, if you are regularly employed, your employer is legally obligated to pay your regular wage for the first 3 days of jury service. So first 3 days, they're talking about Diddy's trial lasting 2.5 months. After the first 3 days, the state covers $50 a day. So say you are a person that makes a significant amount more than $50 a day, you're only going to get paid $50. So prayerfully, these people that are in New York State that are going to be selected all around New York, they said from upstate to all over New York, have enough somewhere where they can sustain their life for the next 2.5 months, because they're going to be wrapped up with Diddy's bullshit. Okay.
It's the summer and you've got people who are going to have kids who are home. What do? You know, you're going to have to be at this courthouse Monday through Friday, for the entire day. And I think that's going to be, you're going to see a lot of people for hardship reasons asked to be excused. So
exactly. People are probably going to be even madder at the fact that Diddy got their funky ass having to sit there and deal with this bullshit, because they're not going to get paid their regular wage only for 3 days. The rest of the days that they are obligated to be at jury trial, they are only going to get paid for from the state $50. $50. That's it.
I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to set it. They're going to find a jury. They're going to sit a jury, and you know, the way the schedule goes, next week we're going to do opening statements, and then we're off and running. But you're right, 2 months. This is going to go on forever.
All right, let's hop over to former pro basketball player Kevin Garnett. What's
we're
going
not on Kevin Garnett's tea currently. We are sipping from Diddy, y'all. So let's go ahead and listen to a little something that I picked up on. Okay. Now, I know you guys, most of my listeners are pretty familiar with Umar Johnson, I think is his name. Okay. Umar had some choice words to say about Diddy in his trial, where Cassie will be testifying, right? So let's see if I can find that, and let's take a listen to that, okay? So I thought it was pretty interesting, and I would love for you guys to hear it as well. So let me just go ahead and type this in. Umar, Diddy, Cassie. Okay. Dr. Umar goes off on Cassie being able to testify against Diddy. She has already been paid off. Thank you, Art of Dialogue. He's a really great channel. Go over there and sip some of his tea.
Dear Dr. K.
Okay. So let me also subscribe. He is a wonderful commentator, speaks to a lot of great-minded people on lots of great subjects and topics. Okay. So let's get into it.
Gotta ask you about this upcoming Diddy trial that's coming up in a few days. I think it's coming up in about 4 or 5 days. How you feel about Cassie testifying against Diddy?
Yes, sir. First of all, it should be absolutely illegal for Cassie to testify against Diddy.
And I'm not going to hold you. I also, respectively, I can appreciate Cassie's testament to what Diddy, has been brought to the light to have to take accountability for. However, like Umar is going to explain to us, tea sipper, so please have your listening ears on and sip this tea. It's supposed to be illegal for you to testify against someone in any type of criminal situation if you've been paid off by them civilly. Okay, let's sip that tea.
Paid her off. I believe there was an NDA involved in that situation. He was paying her off to shut up and go away. After all the money he paid her, after her signing an NDA, how can she then be brought back into court to testify against him? It reminds me of Bill Cosby. Some of those women who lied on Bill Cosby during his sex abuse cases had NDAs. And the court let them break the NDA. You never see this with a white man accused of the same. You never see this with a Caucasian accused of the same. His lawyer should do all that they can to fight against Cassie testifying. She wasn't sex trafficked. So why are you testifying in a sex trafficking case? He is not being charged with crimes against Cassie. He's being charged with crimes against other. Cassie was paid and dismissed. Why is she being brought back into court after taking that man's money and testifying against him?
And why do you guys think that that is what's happening to Diddy? Do you think that it's railroading? Do you think that it is because instead of Cassie, because I don't believe that we've heard over these like past 8-9 months since Diddy's been arrested, Cassie sued him, that Cassie was a person that was I know in her lawsuit she said that she was forced to do a lot of things, right? However, I don't believe she was brought up on any type of like charges. I believe she was reversed around to be made a victim. Okay, so it's like either was Cassie going to be like a co-defendant, or was she also going to be somebody that was going to go down with Diddy in the sense of where these sex trafficking crimes and all these other racketeering charges and transportation to engage in prostitution things are going on. Okay, because how else otherwise could they flip Cassie? Because Cassie essentially was already paid off, right? So it's like, how could they flip her if she's already been paid off? She's not a person that they're looking at as being in cahoots with Diddy because they made Diddy pay her, right? So it's like, okay, they're looking at her as a victim, possibly that can testify against Diddy in the areas to know more elaborately about what happened during these times of racketeering, conspiracy, what else I got wrote down here, sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution, right? It's like, okay, more than likely that's what the angle that they're looking at doing with her. You know, posing her as a victim. Look, and it must all be true, y'all. Diddy had to pay her. But in the event of the NDAs, then where do those really come into account? And are those ever really held liable against anybody in a court case? Because NDAs are supposed to be something that you cannot, it's like specify as something that you cannot use against somebody in the matter of a court or police involvement or like media, where you cannot disclose whatever the fuck you think you may know about a situation or a person because you sign a non-disclosure agreement, the NDA. You're not supposed to speak on it in any matter moving forward. It's supposed to be bindable. Okay, you're not supposed to be able to break an NDA. Apparently, though, courts have been able to break NDAs just like as if they never even existed, or the paper that they're written on is, you know, worth nothing. Okay, back to Dr. Umar. Okay, he's responding to, should Cassie testify against Diddy in this up and coming trial that's starting today? They are starting selecting jurors as of today.
That right there is clearly an excessive and abusive use of the law. She should not be able to take the stand against that man. And I don't condone sex abuse. I don't condone sex assault. I don't condone sex trafficking, none of that. But at the same time, I stand for justice. And letting a woman who's already been paid off and signed the NDA to come into court and testify against me like y'all allowed in the Bill Cosby trial, absolutely unacceptable, absolutely wrong. I do not.
Well, we can see where, as I said, we're seeing that be excluded from court matters. Now, you know how, you know, Caucasian people that are over our legislators and over our laws, essentially, can go in, change laws, go in and set things in place and in motion to fit their narrative, right? So we've seen that, like he just said with Bill Cosby, had NDAs, right? To whereas people that had these non-disclosure agreements should not have been able to come into court and testify against Bill Cosby, but were able to do that because they ignored the fact that there were non-disclosure agreements in the first place, right? Which is supposed to be in the law. However, when you have people in position in law that have the ability and capability and power to change laws to fit their own narratives, this is this type of situations that unfold.
Like it. As far as Puffy asking for his case to be delayed, I agree with that. Remember, one of his lawyers recused himself, okay, at least one of them. So he probably has, some new people on his legal team. They got to get reacclimated and get caught up with what's going on. And I saw nothing wrong with him asking for a 2-month delay. He's already in jail. Y'all didn't give him bail, which y'all also think is a violation of his constitutional rights. So he should have got the 8-week delay. But here we go again. Deion Sanders. We want to make an example out of Puff. And of course, Deion wasn't accused of what Puffy is being accused of, but we want to make an example out of Sean Puffy Combs. He was too confident. He was too big, and it was time for us to bring him down. See, one thing we need to understand, Art, the Carmelo Anthony case, the Shador Sanders situation, the Puffy Combs case, the Shannon Sharp case, they are all involving the same basic issue. And you know what that is? Black people need to stay in their place. Shannon Sharp, you ain't got no business sleeping with 19-year-old snow bunnies. Deion and Shador, you ain't got no business being confident and independent. Sean Puffy Combs, you ain't got no business being a multi-billionaire mogul suing a multi-billionaire liquor company. Bill Cosby, you ain't have no business trying to purchase a major broadcasting station. Carmelo Anthony, you have no business defending yourself against white people. We can do whatever we want to do with your people. In every instance of all these cases, Art, there is one common theme. Black people are forgetting who the slaves are and who the slave masters are, and we're going to remind you. Our job as a people is to rebel against the slave system, Art, but you can only do that if we work in together. If we organize and unify, we can overthrow the entire slaveocracy.
And how you feel about him turning down his plea deal?
I would have turned down the plea deal too, Art. I would have turned it down. And the reason I would have turned it down, and again, I don't know Puff personally, never hung around the gentleman, but I'm having a hard time believing he's guilty of sex trafficking. I don't know about the racketeering. I've never been in the bad boy office. The only thing he's being charged with that I could see him being convicted of is the prostitution, payment for sex. That's it. The Mann Act, interstate prostitution. That is the only thing I can see him being convicted of. I do not see the sex trafficking. I do not see the sex abuse. All I see is that there's a possibility that Sean Puffy Combs may have paid men and or women to have sex with him or other men and or women. All I see is fee for sex. Beyond fee for sex, I'm not sure of the other charges. And if my assumptions are correct, I too, like Sean Combs, would take my day in trial. I'm not pleading now. I would have needed to know what that plea was in order for me to decide if he should have taken it or not. I'm still leaning towards no. The other issue too here, Art, is you got to realize if he takes a plea, you cannot revoke that plea later. In addition to that, if he takes the plea on the racketeering, Art, that means he's admitting that bad boy Incorporated was a criminal enterprise, which means the government is able to lay siege to everything he owned in the name of Bad Boy. The money, the buildings, the real estate, the catalogs. And I believe the biggest reason why he not pleading out, Art, is he don't want the government to confiscate his entire legacy and his entire company. So after he gets out, he will have absolutely nothing if he pleads out. So I think he has to roll the dice and see what happens.
Okay, that was Dr. Umar. He chimed in on Cassie testifying, okay? He brought up the NDAs and the fact that Diddy already paid, right, for Cassie's silence, essentially. However, as you've heard throughout the news coverage so far already, Diddy will be, or Cassie will be testifying against Diddy starting as early as next week. By the third day of trial commencing against Diddy, Cassie should be on the stand testifying. Okay, now we're gonna get into some TMZ stuff, y'all, and see what they are sipping about the Diddler. Let's listen.
Yeah. Back to
Thank you guys so much for watching Tanisha Talks Teas. I really want to thank you guys so much for sipping. Today we are sipping tea from Diddy's trial. Okay, drop those teacups in the chat and let me know where you guys sip your tea on Diddy. Okay, trial, since he's been indicted, charges. Do you think Cassie's testimony will have impact on Diddy? Do you think racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution, which one of those, if any or all, will stick against Diddy? Will the liars that came up during all of this debacle of Diddy being arrested back in September 2024 on the 16th, to be exact, do you think that that will muddy the waters for people to believe anybody testifying against Diddy? What do you guys think? Drop those teacups in the fucking chat. Let's listen to TMZ.
You know, it all kind of comes together here. So Maureen Comey, who we're told from all accounts, she is a fierce prosecutor.
She was involved in prosecuting Ghislaine Maxwell,
right,
and also Jeffrey Epstein. So she has been involved in some very big cases. And then the other 5
goddamn it, they are pulling out the troops. We already know the feds want Diddy, right? We know they want him. And they're pulling out all stops. They're pulling out, like they said, the Queen team against Diddy's ass.
Prosecutors, Emily Ann Johnson, Madison Reddick Smizer, Mary Christine Slavic, Meredith Foster, and Mitzi Steiner.
Everything begins with an M there.
Yeah, except for Emily.
Well, but that sounds like
and
M.
that sounds like M.
Right.
So it's the M&M and M&M and M gang.
So like Charles said, you know, I suppose it could be coincidence. I don't think it's coincidence. And especially given the nature of the case.
Yes.
Because when you look at who is examining...
Oh my God. Okay. Y'all may be, you know, all wrapped up in this red pill shit that the men have against the women currently. But if y'all have not, you know, been under a rock and been out here about your business, standing on your square and not get knocked off your pivot, you know that women are winning exponentially. You know, like we are winning. Women are leading. We're winning. We are advocating and navigating and narrating and, you know, all of our things that we're doing, we're putting our whole foot in it, and we're really standing on it, and we're making great impacts in life. So the prosecution is led by 5 women, okay? And look at the nature of the crimes that Diddy's being charged with, right? Sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution. Okay, those are all things that women are some of the biggest victims exposed to and done to as victims. So you already know the prosecution's going to try to bury Diddy's ass on those 2 charges alone. The conspiracy, the racketeering, where he was laundering money and is seemingly moving drugs throughout the countries, and using drug mules and things like that. Yeah, the women will fight really hard for that. They will be very passionate about that. But this sex trafficking and the transportation to engage in prostitution, women are very much mostly at the forefront of being directly affected by those types of things. So you know the women are going to try to bury Diddy for those 2 charges alone.
These various witnesses.
I'll slate it.
While TMZ
Not
are
my first
paying
rodeo.
bills, we want to thank all of our new tea sippers. We've gotten a great response. I really want to thank you all for subscribing. Remember also, when you're in here, like my show. Please share it across all your social media platforms. And don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification bell so when I do go live, you have a front row seat with your teacup ready to be filled with all this great tea that we're sipping with Tanisha Talks Teas. Remember, the T stands for to elevate and soar. Today we're sipping Diddy's tea, y'all. His trial started today. They've already selected 2 jurors. Let's keep it moving.
You know, especially female alleged victims, of which there will be 4. Prosecutors often do look for.
So far, they got 4 women testifying against Diddy. This is all tea that I wasn't aware of. Diddy didn't die out, but his news kind of fizzled down until the trial, which started today. So, you know, we're on it. I wanted to get started earlier, like 11. However, I had to run some system checks on my computer. So yeah, we're listening in, sipping Diddy tea. 4 victims women are testifying against Diddy in this trial so far. Wow.
Or a female attorney, a female prosecutor, for various reasons. There's a connection there. There's a comfort level there where they can open up and talk. And I don't think this is coincidental at all. But I think this is a double-edged sword in a way.
Yeah, definitely not coincidental at all, Harvey. Just to talk about that point for a second. The U.S. Attorney for the Southern District is going to have hand-selected these attorneys very particularly. This is a very important case for them, extremely high profile, and they want to win. And so they picked great lawyers, no doubt about it. The fact they picked all of these women, they are clearly, to get to the second point you were making, this is an effort to try to curate their lawyers to appeal to this jury. I'm not sure how this works for them. I think maybe you can overthink these things a little bit, and I don't know that an all-female panel necessarily plays to a jury, regardless of the gender makeup of the jury, necessarily plays to that jury. I know all of the alleged victims in the criminal case are all women, and so they're trying to sort of stand united with them. But does it at that point become more about the cause of female empowerment, about women's rights, about women victims, and less about the actual conduct of this defendant?
No, I think that's the double-edged sword. That it might work
how does the jury
to that extent where people feel like we're even making a bigger statement than just about one man. We're making a statement about a cause. But on the other hand, there might be people who say we shouldn't be nailing a guy for a cause. We should be nailing a guy for the guy and what he did.
Right.
And so that could work both ways. And remember, what the defense needs is 1 vote. What the prosecution needs is every vote. And that's the difference, that if this doesn't sit well with even one of the jurors and they start feeling that, that could create a problem.
If you're the U.S. attorney, what you want you want the best attorneys you can have in there. And it really, I know you want to, like we said, appearances matter, but you want to win this case, and you need, like you said, it's harder for them.
Yeah,
you need
I mean,
every juror.
The concept of the best attorneys, I mean, you know, the really good lawyers,
the most experienced.
But the really good lawyers are, you know, it's not this wide range. I mean, there are a lot of lawyers who operate at a really high level.
Sure.
So I'm sure all of these lawyers do. And so I don't even think it's so much we pick the best 5 lawyers. I mean, there's a group of lawyers that are all great.
The best 5 lawyers for this case.
The question is, did the fact that they're women factor in, knowing that all of them are great, but did they want this specifically? And I think the answer is yes. I mean, I think you can take top lawyers and say, look, there were 20 of them, but we, for various reasons, want all 5 to be women.
Right.
And we will see if that works.
Hi, my name's Juwan, and I'm from Detroit. I think this is like a little bit of karmic justice for the prosecution team to be all women, especially considering the crimes that he's alleged to have committed against women.
Are you drowning in payday loan debt? Have you taken...
Please excuse the background noise. My maintenance guys are outside doing some lawn work. Yeah, like I just said, as the guy from Detroit just specified, that, you know, karma for Diddy. Okay, they got 4 women already testifying, one in which he had to pay $30 million or some shit like that. Crazy.
That's what they hope the jury sees it as, but that would also assume that the jury thinks that Diddy is guilty. So that's why they have the trial, because we don't know yet.
Okay, we are going to move on.
Yes, moving on to John Elway.
All right, that was TMZ chiming in on Diddy, y'all. So I was also going to, let's look up some of these charges. So racketeering, okay? Racketeering. What does that look like as far as time? What is it necessarily involved? So racketeering is a type of organized crime in which the perpetrator set up a coercive, fraudulent, extortionary, or otherwise illegal coordinated scheme or an operation, a racket, okay, to repeatedly or consistently collect a profit, like what you see big gangsters do, such as, like, you know, the Chinese snake heads and, you know, the big Meeches of the world and people like that, people that do sex trafficking, you know, smuggle drugs. This would be racketeering, okay? The term racketeering was coined by the Employers Association of Chicago in June 1927. In a statement about the influence of organized crime in the Teamsters Union, I've heard of them, specifically a racket was defined by this coinage as being a service that calls forth its own demand and would not have been needed otherwise. Narrowly, it means coercive or fraudulent business practices, okay? So if you have a laundromat that, yeah, you may be able to go in there and wash clothes. However, in the back, they wash dirty drug money or something. That would be fraudulent business practices, right? Broadly, it can mean any criminal scheme or operation with ongoing or reoccurring profit. So I wonder what that would mean for Diddy. How do you guys think? Because they do have, I believe, Diddy under a RICO Act, right? So the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organization RICO Act is a United States federal law that provides for extended criminal penalties in a civil case of action for acts performed as part of an ongoing criminal organization. So that's what the racketeering is. How much time can you potentially get for racketeering? $20 years. Under the RICO statute, the maximum penalty for racketeering includes a fine and up to 20 years in federal prison. A violation of the federal RICO statute may result in up to 20 years of imprisonment or potentially life imprisonment if the violation arises from a racketeering activity for which a defendant may be sent. Diddy could be sent to prison for life just for racketeering, okay? And up to 20 years. Now we're going to go into conspiracy, right? Because we also saw the conspiracy charge, okay? A conspiracy is when 2 or more people work together to plan and perform an illegal act. So who are they essentially saying Diddy conspired with? Because right now, Diddy's on trial by his damn self. So we have to think about that. Conspiracy, when you conspire there has to be more than one person, either two or more people, right? Conspiracy charges can come in felony or misdemeanor forms, and people charged with conspiracies could potentially be subject to both a conspiracy charge and a charge of the underlying crime at issue. So whatever the conspiring was, the actual illegal act is a charge, and also the to conspire to have done it is also a charge, right? Carries what type of time? So we don't necessarily so much see what type of time it carries. However, this does read, those states differ in how they define the elements of conspiring. A conviction usually does require proof that the defendant agreed with one or more people to commit a crime. So they obviously, since they have conspiracy up here, are going to bring in some type of evidence to follow through with how they are bringing themselves to understand that Diddy conspired to commit an illegal crime. Okay, the prosecutor also has to prove that someone in the conspiracy committed at least one overt act to further the targeted crime. That's probably due to some type of sex thing. You see what I'm saying? Whereas Diddy, unless they got him on some drug stuff, I don't know, where he may have conspired with a prostitute or some shit to, follow up with a sex act. So maybe we'll see more as the trial progresses, right? So then we got sex trafficking. That, carries heavy penalties. Okay. So what are we looking at here? Sex trafficking is human trafficking for the purpose of sexual exploitation. Okay. We already know sex traffickers can be considered something called a pimp. This is just wild. Poor Diddy. Well, poor victims, but I'm saying Diddy ass seems to be thoroughly cooked. Seemingly looked brain dead when he was arrested. Like, this shit just look crazy. This shit just look crazy. So let me see. I am over here. And what to know, Sean Diddy Combs. Thank you guys so much for sipping this tea with me today on Sean Diddy Combs, the first day of his trial. Sean Diddy Combs, the music mogul accused of sexually assaulting, trafficking, and otherwise exploiting women in recurring incidents over multiple decades, is standing trial in New York City this month. Jury selection begins today, and opening statements are scheduled to follow on May 12th. So we'll be back up here on May 12th, y'all. May 12th, mark your calendars. Tanisha Talks Tees will be live following up Diddy's first day of official trial. Jurors will be selected by then. Combs, who is 55 years old, faces multiple charges, including sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. He has been jailed since September, when he was ordered held without bail. So Diddy's been in jail without bail since September 16, 2024. He has pleaded not guilty, and at his final pretrial hearing, rejected his plea deal. Okay. As the trial gets underway in Manhattan federal courts, here's what to know. Combs will be tried on 5 charges. One of the most powerful figures in hip-hop, Combs is accused of running a criminal enterprise with help from associates and employees. So that would be the conspiring folk that they're mentioning in the conspiring charges for conspiracy, right? That he ran a criminal enterprise with associates and employees. Okay, so that's who they're saying he was conspiring with since at least 2004, that they engaged in or attempted to engage in sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, obstruction of justice, and other offenses according to an indictment. Okay, so we know about some of the stuff like the arson, Kid Cudi car, probably bribery, telling people, don't testify, keep your mouth shut, whether you paid them or he beat them or he potentially may have killed them. Kidnapping, we know that may be from like Cassie when he beat her up in the hotel surveillance video and, did not allow her to leave the such hotel after we saw him violently attack her in the hallway of the hotel, right? Obstruction of justice. I think that obstruction of justice. Oh, when Diddy was raided, they were looking for Diddy, and Diddy was not at either said multiple homes across the United States. He has like California, Florida, New York. He was not there when they essentially went into raid Diddy's house and probably arrest Diddy. And other offenses, according to an indictment. So Combs was initially charged in September 2024 with one count of racketeering conspiracy, one count of sex trafficking by force. Woo. So they're not just saying that Diddy paid for pussy. They're not just saying that he paid for a prostitute, that he sex trafficked people by force, meaning against their will. Okay, fraud or coercion, and one count of transportation for purposes of prostitution. So the sex trafficking is not tied into it's tied into the whole entire indictment, but it's not a part of the transportation for purposes of prostitution. That's a whole other count itself, right? So they're saying that Diddy sex trafficked someone by force. Okay, that's fucking serious. So I mean, Diddy like this, he's looking at triple life. Judge, did you just say triple life? Like, this shit is crazy. A superseding indictment brought 2 additional counts, one of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and one for the purpose of transportation for purposes of prostitution against him in early April. Okay. The indictment alleges Combs engaged in a persistent and pervasive pattern of abuse. So I'm pretty sure that's where Cassie's going to come in at, especially considering she spent the longest time with Diddy that we can speak of, that's alive. We no longer have Kim Porter's testimony. She's not here. We did read her book and listen to her book be read aloud to us. So, more than likely, that's where Cassie will come in at with the persistent and pervasive pattern of abuse toward women and other individuals, which was verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual. It accuses him of manipulating women into participating in commercial sex acts with him, and sometimes with male sex workers. So he allegedly arranged for women and the sex workers to be flown to him. Okay, so like I was telling y'all need to be very mindful of, I'm flying women in for the purposes of sex, because if they can trace a paper trail back to you, they're saying that you are committing a crime for transportation for purposes of prostitution. Okay, and you will go to fucking jail. So the indictment alleges Combs engaged in, okay, we read that, hold on. The acts with sex workers, with which prosecutors say Combs called freak-offs, are described in the indictment as elaborate performances that Combs directed and often filmed with or without participants' consent. So I think that's a crime in itself as well, to also videotape someone without their knowing of you and them committing a sexual act. If they got video evidence of Sean Puffy Combs engaging in sexual encounters with people against their will, as if you can seemingly tell in most situations if someone is being held against their will and being done such things to. Diddy's done. Like, Diddy may not ever get out of prison from this. Prosecutors have alleged the events involved excessive drug use. So they're also saying that, of course, Diddy made people against their will take drugs that alter their understanding about how to be able to understand whether or not they would agree to go into sexual acts, right? Okay. In part to keep the victims obedient and compliant, sometimes lasted multiple days. That's also where they're saying that Diddy held people against their will, kidnapping. Okay. They're saying that that's how the kidnapping charge is in the case, because it lasted multiple days where victims were drugged. I mean, Diddy, this is so bad. In part to keep the victims obedient and compliant. Combs is also accused of assaulting women repeatedly over many years by striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them. So, brings us to Cassie's video where we saw him strike, punch, drag, throw objects, and kick them. Okay. The indictment said the violence extended to his employees and people who witnessed his alleged abuse. Prosecutors say in one instance, Combs is accused of dangling a victim over an apartment balcony, according to the indictment. So that brings us to Wale, where Wale said that apparently Diddy thought that he was looking at Cassie or something of the sort, and he picked him up by his feet and dangled him out of an apartment window. In addition to abuse, I wonder if Wale will testify to that. We're covering this entire Diddy case, y'all, so get ready. Get y'all's tea cups, because it's piping hot tea this whole summer, okay? We are sipping Diddy's trial. In addition to abuse, Combs allegedly maintained control over victims with money, drugs, and threats to their careers, among other means. So, he would say things like, nigga, you won't make it. I'll make sure you don't make it. I'll make sure I blacklist you. I blackball you unless you do what I say do by 12 o'clock. Giving people dreams of, I will make you rich, I'll make you famous, I'll give you all the money, all the girls, all the drugs you want, but you must do these things for me to do these things for you. Coercion, okay? Threats. Prosecutors also allege Combs used bribes and blackmail to hide evidence of this conduct, okay? Where we heard a alleged phone call from Diddy from jail where he was, telling his kids to hide things, get rid of things, la, la, la. So according to the prosecutors, the racketeering conspiracy charge involves allegations that Combs sex trafficked 3 victims and forced a fourth, one of his employees, into sexual activity with him. I think they may be talking about the the one guy, what was his name? Rob somebody. Into sexual activity with him. The indictment refers to 3 female victims as victim 1, 2, and 3. 4 accusers are expected to testify against Combs, according to prosecutors. If Combs is found guilty on all counts, he could face up to life in prison. He has pleaded not guilty to each charge against him. His attorneys say that the allegations against him came from former long-term girlfriend Cassie, and that was all consensual relationships. That was their private life defined by consent, not coercion, the defense said in a statement in April following the superseding indictment. So a security tape showing Combs attacking his then girlfriend, R&B singer Cassandra Ventura, who performed under the name Cassie in 2016, is expected to serve as a key piece of evidence for prosecutors during the trial. We spoke about that as we listened to Dr. Umar talk about how, can she do that? And they signed an NDA. Okay, they signed an NDA. So legally, it's supposed to be binding that if you sign an NDA and you are paid to essentially not talk about things ever again, how can she then be picked back up at a trial and be the key piece of evidence for prosecutors? The video shows Combs throwing Ventura to the floor in the hallway of a Los Angeles hotel, kicking her and dragging her. CNN obtained and published the footage last year following public allegations of physical and sexual violence against Combs. So Ventura accused Combs of ape and physical abuse in a lawsuit in November 2023. That was settled the day after she filed it. The lawsuit also alleges Combs paid the hotel $50,000 for the security footage never to ever be leaked or aired. Unfortunately, it did come out. It came out around the time that Cassie sued him, and I think Cassie just backtracked, probably paid them more money, or however have you, got her lawyers to coerce their asses to turn over that video footage. Combs apologized for his behavior seen in the video, but denied the allegations in the lawsuit. Okay, so they're like, you know, we're really not believing you though, because look at what we saw you do. Like, we hear you saying what you saying you didn't do, but we're watching you do said very, you know, acts on tape, and you can't deny it. That is you. So prosecutors contend the assault in the video happened during a freak off. Right, we talked about that as well throughout the last 9 months of Diddy's arrest, no bail. We talked about, you know, how that may have really been something going off with Cassie trying to escape a freak off, just couldn't take it anymore. He caught her, he beat her to death, and he drug her back to the freak off, is what I opinionated on my talking of the tease of Diddy shit. Okay, who tried to convince the judge to exclude it from the trial, argued the footage was nothing more than a glimpse into a complex but decade-long consensual relationship between the two. It didn't look consensual. The combat was not mutual combat. Cassie didn't even pinch Diddy the entire video that we watched of him beating her to death. She didn't even pinch that nigga. So there was nothing consensual about that fight. It wasn't a mutual combative fight. Anyway, I hope that they allow that to be entered into evidence to show Diddy's character. U.S. District Judge Arun Subramanian, that's a long Arabian, such a however name, said Combs' lawyers failed to convince him that the footage should be excluded. Exactly. It's relevant to the case. Thank you. Outweighs any potential prejudice to Combs, the judge said. So they will be using that tape. They're going to use the tape. They're going to use the footage from the hotel video of him beating Cassie to death, okay, and dragging her back to wherever they were. Okay, so which brings us up to current jury selection. Ahead of jury selection, Combs' legal team and prosecutors disagreed on what to include in the questionnaire used to evaluate potential jurors. So more than likely, you know, prosecutors just really wanted to find out what they really knew about Diddy to try to make it, you know, seem as if they weren't being so biased towards Diddy or leaning the other way. So I don't see what the disagreement should have been on. However, more likely, you know, Sean's team, legal team, you know, probably was just like, okay, what jurors are we really? Shit. From where I'm looking at it, you could put anybody on the stand. They're gonna know about Diddy. Diddy's been around a long time, just like Bill Cosby was. They're gonna know about Diddy. Okay, we have been hearing rumors about Diddy for decades. In court filings, Combs' attorneys argued that prosecutors' proposed questionnaires did not explore at all the prejudices and, as I said, biases that are central to an effective inquiry to seating a fair jury, nor acknowledge, right, as I just specified, the unprecedented and negative media attention they may have been exposed to related to Mr. Combs, right? I said that before I even read that paragraph. So yeah, like that's what that's going to be for Diddy. Like, who are you going to pull up from under a rock, Diddy, that doesn't know what you did and isn't brought up to some type of level of speed about, you know, just who Diddy is and what he's been accused of. So they requested that jurors be questioned about their views regarding sex, drugs, violence, and people with multiple sex partners. So it's like, who do you want us to put on stand for you or on the jury trial for you? Madonna? Like, you know what I mean? Like, who do you want them to really, you know, put up there to have a fair, unbiased opinion of you and what you're being accused of? It's like, who, you know what I mean? Like, who? I can't think of any rock bands right now. What was my favorite? Guns N' Roses. Like, who do you want? Yes, I'm that old. Guns N' Roses is my favorite rock band. Who do you want to represent as a juror for Diddy? Jurors, you know, on their views of sex, drugs, and like that's a whole. You just described a rock group: sex, drugs, violence, and people with multiple sex partners. No, we want, you know, sound mind, body, able people that are able to think for themselves, regardless of what they really know about Diddy, no matter what area of life they come from, to not be so scrutinizing against Diddy. However, understand that if the evidence is presented against Diddy and it shows you blatantly in your face that Diddy did such crimes, he should be punished by law, whatever that looks like, lower, middle, or higher level of law, as said in, all law proceeds. I'm not a lawyer, but that, how they fucking sentence you. Those are the type of people that Diddy should have. Okay, whether they're white, black, yellow, green, purple. Prosecutors criticized the defense proposed questionnaire as to long and touching on subjects that would be better asked in person by the judge, if at all. They said some of the questions were utterly irrelevant to the ability to serve on a juror. I mean, of course, everybody in 2025, I don't give a damn who you are, the Pope, he has some very much understanding level of sex, drugs, violence, and sex with multiple partners, especially our Pope that recently died. Okay, so it's like, come on. Who are you going to find out here? Unless they're Amish, some goddamn where somebody living in a cult that, is really hiding their true nature of who they really are. That doesn't have some type of involvement, understanding, and well-known, world of sex, drugs, violence, and people having multiple sex partners. Okay, so that's our Diddy stuff, y'all. What do y'all think? I don't really know if there's a lot more that we could cover as far as Diddy and the trial. Okay, so I'm gonna look once more over and see if there's anything else. I don't see any opinions quite yet in the chat. If you're a part of that replay game, make sure you double back and tell me what you think in the chat. Also, remember to like, subscribe, and share this video. We're covering the first day of Diddy's trial. Okay, I just found some tea, what Diddy's fate may be. Then I gotta get off of here, guys. I have some appointments and meetings, but I will be back tomorrow around the same time to sip some more tea. If you guys have any tea that you'd like to sip, please go ahead and email me at tanishatalk@gmail.com. Okay. And I'll give it a once over, do my research, and we'll come and sip some tea on some stuff. So what is Diddy's fate, y'all? Let's listen. Oh, wait a minute. Girl, I done back that ass up all the way out of the damn video. Hold on, girl. I done backed up all the way out the video. Okay, here's our video. Girl, stop it.
Today, the sexual misconduct charges he faces have attracted widespread media coverage, which could make it difficult to pick an unbiased jury.
Okay, Fox 5's Lisa Evers is in the newsroom. And Lisa, today you had an exclusive conversation with a jury selection consultant about that jury selection process.
Yes, I did, and very, very interesting. She's telling us it will be up to 12 residents of 8 New York counties, including some from upstate, to decide whether Sean Diddy Combs walks away from this case a free man or stays locked down for decades. Now the jury selection process is underway to pick a jury who can decide his fate. Diddy was once seen as a superstar and fashion icon. Now his only outfit is a prison jumpsuit. 600 men and women are filling out jury surveys to determine if they will be deselected or selected to determine his fate. It's based on 20 to 70 questions.
The questions range from your basic impartiality, your basic ability to serve, if they have financial hardship or childcare concerns. But then they also go into a range of what groups, organizations they belong to, their experiences with law enforcement, and then they really get into their thoughts on the nature of the charges.
Judge Arun Subramanian has ruled that the horrific video of Cassie Ventura being beaten by Combs can be admitted in court. Prosecutors will also be able to introduce videos of the alleged freak-off sex and drug sessions.
They really get into their thoughts on the nature of the charges. So if hearing graphic evidence would make it hard for them to be fair, their experiences with sexual harassment, domestic violence, they go into questions about drug and alcohol use.
For most of this week, prosecutors and Diddy's defense team will be poring over the questionnaires and eliminating candidates.
By May 1st, they have to propose 4 lists. So a list that both sides can agree, the jurors can move on to jury selection, so they don't have any hardships or cause challenges. A list that both sides agree should be excused.
Now, the prosecution and defense will each submit a list of jurors that they do not want on the jury. The people who make it will be there in federal court a week from today for the actual jury selection. Now, whether they are questioned because of the high-profile nature of the trial, their names will not be read in court. They will be identified simply by number. That's the latest from the newsroom.
Okay, so as y'all heard it, right, they are going to allow some certain evidence to be entered into the trial for Diddy. Let's look this up and see what this says. Okay.
The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are, but because of the nature of this case, we're going to make damn sure that we're right before we do that. But the names that we're going to name, assuming that our investigators confirm and corroborate what we've been told, are names that will shock you. The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are, but because of the nature of this case, we're going to make damn sure that we're right before we do.
Okay, y'all, it is really messy and muddy out here with Diddy, y'all. Okay. There have been a lot of things going on. Let's see.
What if I told you just need to wet this race?
People that were muddying up the Diddy case, like when Diddy first got arrested, people were coming out of the woodwork saying, you know, Diddy did all of these things to me. Hold on, y'all, because I have that on my page. Let me just find it on my page. Okay, let me just find it on my page. And I really want to thank everybody for subscribing. Okay. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers. And I want to achieve that goal. And I want you guys to help me. So please, please subscribe. So I've got it on my page. Let's see. Here's one. And Mike Lowry, over on all viral access media on YouTube. Go over there and like and subscribe to his channel.
Damn, man, you be having me everywhere, shorty. So
alleged. That's not alleged. I'm in Vibe magazine.
Give me a scenario where so just regular Ja Rule, he was just running around and he chilling and he just smacking him on the ass, because what I was trying to get out my mind where somebody was telling me, yeah, girl,
my mind. Hold on. I got my homie coming, bringing me some wine and some weed. Hold on, and he's calling me on this phone. He don't got my other phone number. Oh shit. Excuse me, YouTube. Hold on 1 second. I have to mute it because I got to pick up this call because I got to plug my charger in. My phone about to die. Hold on.
All right.
And yeah, just hold on. I'm not falling off. If I don't answer, he's gonna leave thinking that I'm not for real. And I'm like, oh shit.
Now.
Over the validity of allegations and claims made by Misha in some of our viral interviews. Though I do believe a large part of her testimony, I do realize that some of her claims needs to be further investigated. Now, Cassie's law firm released a statement via Twitter X that it's not Misha in the D&G shirt, although she claims that it is her.
This says a woman has recently come forward claiming to be our Jane Doe, who asserted claims of gender-motivated violence against Sean Combs, Harv Pierre, and others. She is not the individual who we represent in the pending lawsuit. Our client's identity remains confidential. This is from Wigdor LLP at Wigdor Law, bitches. Now, they're talking about the Misha Fuller, okay? Misha Fuller, we did a piece last week with the Hood Prophet, our psychic medium, Terra Rita, to the show, bitch. And that's her, okay? A law firm has came forward and said a woman has recently come forward claiming to be our client, Jane Doe. Meaning we are not peddling our client's pussy all around the internet for interviews of none of the motherfucking sort. Who asserted claims of gender-motivated violence against Sean Combs, Harv Pierre, and others. She is not the motherfucking individual we represent.
So listen up. State Farm was...
Plenty of headlines in recent months for making countless shocking allegations against celebrities. She's gone after the likes of Jay-Z, Beyonce, Drake, Kendrick Lamar, Lionel B, and many more. Now, however, she's been hit with some allegations of her own. Recently, Tasha K released her interview with Wright's son, Sam Odom Jr. During the interview, he accused his mother of using him as a pawn and a shield against the discredited Diddy victim Lamisha Fuller in her medicated rants, and alleged that since the Lionel B show allowed her to tell her harrowing story and get millions of views, that he is manipulating the victims. Diagnosed as a schizophrenic, her grand delusions are often ignored by everyone, except for her deranged cult following. follows her platform. She created an unbelievable story that Lionel B being paid by Diddy and Jay-Z, which is quite odd because his countless videos are actually going after the two hip-hop icons. Her outstanding arrest warrants in Texas are proof that she will do anything to attempt to bring down the YouTube journalist, since she's clearly failed miserably at that job, as well as being a singer. More details to come.
We also got another deranged woman who was unfortunately shot by Diddy, and my heart goes out to all the victims of Diddy. Now, she's alleging that the reason she asked for $5,000 to interview with me is because I offered to fly her out to Florida to do an in-person interview, and she thought I was gonna alive her when she got here, and that I was hired by Diddy.
Stop it. Get some help.
Ladies, stop the cap and stop the fake preying on your show, all the while you're cussing out people's mothers on your platform.
Stop the cap.
I offered to have her on my show so she could tell her story on a large platform in person and not a virtual interview, because I personally feel it's a better vibe when you're in the same room, and I thought it would be dope to switch up the format.
Aim after conning YouTubers to appear on their platform telling a fake story and claiming to be R. Kelly's cellmate. He attempted to try to feature on the Lionel.
So
This move is so fucking slow.
stop this con. You're like artist, and it's not right. Okay, it's just not right to steal somebody else's story and pretend to be other people.
Stay warm. Bundle up under the covers, y'all. Okay, it is cold.
Hey everybody, happy Sunday. This is just a quick video on like Misha. Like every time she's exposed or debunked, she still comes back and just tries to keep her con going. Girl, you are completely exposed. I know there are some people that still believe you. However, the majority of the people out there don't believe you anymore at all. You need to stop this con. You're like artist, and it's not right. Okay, it's just not.
I want to thank you for your support and your condolence to what I've been through and understanding me, but I would like to apologize for the misled information.
People don't apologize unless they're wrong or they've done something wrong. So for the fact that she came forward to apologize means that she did something wrong. So how on one hand can you be giving an apology saying you did something wrong, and on the other hand saying that you didn't do anything wrong and somebody just twisted your words? No, the misled information is AKA lies. You got on here and lied, pretending to be that Jane Doe in a D&G shirt with the skirt. You pretended to be her, and now that you are exposed, you're trying to hide your hand, backpedal, and deflect. Okay, and now you're trying to say, "Oh, I'm just a woman on the table, not the D&G." And then the next thing you know, he says, "Oh, well, I do have a D&G photo, but it's just not that one." Again, a liar will always think of a new lie, and a new lie, and a new lie, and their lies will be ongoing because they don't want to get caught up. Okay.
About the D&G shirt, I knew that me coming out saying that was me in a D&G shirt, that's someone else's case. So I knew that I could not say that. That's why I didn't want Adria to go live and say anything about the D&G.
But you did say it. You did say that was you. And even when Lionel put the picture up and others were putting the picture up, you kept on talking about that photo and you kept on saying that was you. You knew exactly what pictures were floating around.
the only picture floating around with the girl sitting on Diddy's lap with the DNG in the studio. You describe play by play of what was in her lawsuit. Besides, you added on some things that you messed up on, whatever. So you could completely stole this girl's story, and now that you're exposed, you're trying to say, "Oh, I never said that was me." Yes, you did.
DNG shirt, but everything that I experienced with P. Diddy is real. Apologize to the Jane Doe victim. I never said her story was my story.
Yes, you did.
I've been through things she has been through, but I never said her story was my story. And
yes, you did.
Just want to apologize if I missed.
That was your whole foundation and the premise. Your whole argument was that was you.
Misled anyone. The misled information was Miss English. I told her, I can't claim to be her, you know.
But you did claim to be her. You told everybody that was you.
I think if you go back and watch your interviews, I say I can't say that's me. I went through something.
You did say that was you. He asked you, "Are you the girl in the DNG shirt?" You said yes. The T-shirt. Other people have brought this to your attention, and you have brought it to other people's attention, as well as being that girl in the DNG shirt at the studio. Stop lying.
And I never said that woman's story was my story. I never.
Yes, you did.
Said that I found anything.
Yes, you did. You have said you filed things, and as a Jane Doe only comes up twice. Either you're a Jane Doe in a lawsuit, which you were claiming to be the Jane Doe in that lawsuit, or you are a Jane Doe as an unidentified body of remains. So if somebody finds remains, if law enforcement finds remains, they will go out and try to, see who's the remains. The other option, the only other time Jane Doe is used is for unidentified remains. A body is found. They don't know who the woman is. They will call her a Jane Doe until they find out her true identity. And that doesn't pertain to you. So you were pretending like you were the Jane Doe in a DNG shirt. You were just hoping that her picture would stay blurred and nobody would know who she was ever.
When I wrote my statements to the police officers throughout the time that I was with him, and it was, get my statements, we have the same similar thing. So it brought up trauma. The misled is me being Jane Doe in the lawsuit. I'm Jane Doe. As far as when I did file, they told me to put Jane Doe down, but
if you file something and put Jane Doe, that is a lawsuit. A police report is not going to be Jane Doe unless it's an unidentified woman or unidentified body. That's not going to be you. So you're trying to spin and backpedal and take back what you said now that you're exposed. Now, this is called deflection and lying and spinning and twisting your corner, your call, and now you're trying to, how can I get out of this? I have to lie. It's confusing because you're lying. You're all over the place, and your answer does not make sense. So you're basically continuing to lie.
That's her lawsuit. It's not mine. So that's the mislead.
So you're apologizing to her for what? Why are you apologizing to the Jane Doe? Because you stole her identity. You only apologize to somebody if you're wrong. And that's why you say, I apologize. That's her case. So you stole her case and you stole her identity, and now you're apologizing for it. And that on the other hand, you're also trying to hide your hand.
The information right there, I don't know if I explained it right.
And look at the title of Lionel's video. It says you admit to not being the girl in the DNG. It says you finally admitted to not being the girl in the DNG shirt.
Who, I already knew these things. That's why I said that I can't say this me in the DG sweater. Now, I know I took a picture.
But you did say that was you in the DNG. You did say it.
Picture like that, but her story and her lawsuit has nothing to do with me.
Well, you pretended like it did.
When I get there, I had that on. I wake up, I have on the DG and I have on a skirt. And he was telling me, welcome to the flavor count.
When you get there, you have on the D&G shirt and the skirt. You were pretending to be that girl at the studio, taking those pictures. You described everything that's in her lawsuit, and then you added on a bunch of stuff as well.
And I'm gonna make you a star. You have the qualities or whatever. And he gave me a camera, and he told me to take pictures of the area, like take pictures of that stuff that I remembered. I took a picture of the pool table. I took a picture of the room. I took a picture of the studio because it's pictures without me in the studio, but it was just regular pictures. I took pictures of that. And I remember him, like, I didn't have my underwears or nothing on when I was sitting on his lap in that picture.
And you said you were sitting on his lap in the studio, right? And everybody knows what picture that is. The girl with the D&G shirt, and she's also wearing a G skirt sitting on Diddy's lap, the blurred photo. Okay, you were pretending to be her.
I remember him like telling me like, "Ooh, she got a nice body, got like a nice little shape on her."
That's also in that girl's lawsuit. Anna Kane, who we know who that is now. In her lawsuit, she stated the same thing about what they were saying about her body. So you stole her story.
Whatever. And like I just felt uncomfortable. And after that happened, I'm in a daze again.
Now you just to confirm, you were the one that had the D&G tank top on, correct?
Yes, I was. You were the one that had the D&G tank top on. You told people that this was you, man. You kept on saying that this was you. You saw the pictures that Lionel posted. You saw the pictures that everybody else posted. You told people that this was you.
Dawn saw me in the studio. She saw me. I put her in the documents. She saw me.
You said Dawn saw you in the studio, ma'am. Dawn did not audition for MTV's Making the Band until 2004. That incident that you're talking about in the studio with the other Anna Kane happened in 2003. So how can Dawn Richards be in the studio when she didn't meet Diddy until 2004 for auditioning for Making the Band? See what I mean? So you need to stop your lies. So Dawn saw me in the studio.
Everybody I named, they saw me. Cassie saw me when Cassie was running. Cassie was mad because
who says Cassie saw her in the studio too? First of all, that was a hotel that this incident happened with Cassie and Diddy. So how could she storm off because she saw y'all effing, which you should be actually saying graping, not effing, if you're actually telling the truth about him assaulting you, right? Secondly, that was surveillance footage from the Intercontinental Hotel in California. Daddy's house studio, where you're saying that you were at, is actually in New York. So that's geographical information that you have wrong as well. And also, you said that was supposed to be 2003 when you were a minor, that he assaulted you at the studio in New York. But you're now saying while stuff was happening to you, Cassie stormed out, but that wasn't until 2016. So you're thinking, oh, that's an old video. There's no date. No, there is a date. March 2016. Intercontinental Hotel in Century City, Los Angeles. So that is not about you, ma'am. You were a full grown up at that time in 2016. Please stop the lies.
ran off with that money, and that's money in that duffel bag she was running with.
You talking about in the hotel where she's getting beat?
Yeah, that's like it's old. Like she got beat. Like they just now putting the stuff out, but that's money that he keep in that duffel bag. She was trying to run with that money.
Thanks for watching. Remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. It's a blessing. Keep your teacups filled and ready for my next upload. Until then, stay inspired and remember, always stay dipping.